And now on the show, I want to take a look at a film that I feel is an absolutely brilliant film that's kind of crept into cinemas. This is the latest film by New Zealand director Lee Tamahori, of course, who made Once Were Warriors all those years ago. His new film is called The Convert, and it is set during the bloody Maori Wars of the 1830s. And it sees a young preacher by the name of Thomas Munro, played by Guy Pearce, arriving in New Zealand to take up the role of a preacher at a British post, a township that's it's trying to build. But they kind of live in fear because the local tribe is awaiting the arrival of a fearsome tribal leader called Akatariwa, played by Lawrence Makora. And this guy is absolutely bloody and deadly in what he does. Now, Munro gets a very, very early kind of look at what this man is capable of doing when, upon arrival in New Zealand, he's resting under a tree and suddenly hears a fight behind him. He goes to see what's happened and finds two tribes attacking each other. Now, this bloody leader is then responsible for the death of a young Maori warrior who just happens to be the husband of Rangamai, played by Tiora Nagataya Melbourne. And from then on, Munro is kind of fascinated with Maori culture. He takes Rangamai under his wing and arrives in this town called Epworth, where he is to take up his preaching job. But upon arrival there, he realizes that there's racism here. Rangamai has been injured in the battle in which Munro saved her from, but the local doctor won't treat her. He doesn't say it in as many words, but he basically says, well, look, I'm hired to look after the white people here, not this girl that you've brought into camp. Not to be deterred, Munro decides to help Rangamai, and he soon finds a local woman, Charlotte, played by Jacqueline McKenzie, who was once married to a Maori warrior herself, who is willing to help. The trio then, I guess you could say, start to build a life together, in the sense that Charlotte is helping Munro, and Munro kind of has this dream that he can kind of bring peace between these people in the town and educate them about why they should accept the Maori people. However, after the death of another young Maori boy at the hands of the town, Munro decides that something needs to be done. So he sets off to try and meet the local Maori tribe members in order to try and work something out. Now, this is a very, very interesting film in the sense that there's something brilliant about this movie. This is a time period in New Zealand that we don't get to learn much about. Like, if you're my age, we learnt nothing about New Zealand history, even though we're the next country over when I was growing up. So to find out about these Maori wars and about how the British settlers first interacted with Maoris when they first arrived in New Zealand is pretty fascinating. Because one of the things that really struck me with this is that the people of Epworth kind of do understand what's going on with the tribes, because they've kind of signed a treaty and they actually rent the land off the local tribal chief. But at the same time, there's this deep racism that runs there. And I find it interesting seeing a film like this through the eyes of Munro, someone who arrives there and doesn't have a racist bone in his body. We later find out an incident that happened earlier on in his life that changed everything for him. But to see it through his eyes and to see him trying to change these people, and then kind of try to work out what's happened to this young Maori warrior who's been murdered as well. It is a fascinating watch. It is brilliantly brought to the screen by Lee Tamahori, and it's got a team of writers that worked on this, but they do an absolutely amazing job. This is one of those films where it doesn't need a lot of dialogue to tell its story. There's a lot of glances in this film. There's a lot of looks between characters. You genuinely are sitting on the edge of your seat for most of this movie, because the way that they have set up this character of Akatari is fearsome. He's like this Genghis Khan kind of character that he just has this belief that he not only is he going to wipe out the other Maori tribes, but he's going to wipe out these white guys if he gets the opportunity to as well. And through that story, we get to see what happened when these tribes are introduced to muskets, which is a kind of interesting a premise, because up until that point they were kind of using blunt weapons, but all of a sudden now they're using muskets, and we see how that came about in this film, and that is something again that completely changed Maori culture and what was happening in these wars, and we kind of see the effects of that. Now, what I got to say about this movie is it also has some absolutely brilliant performances. Guy Pearce is amazing in this film, as is, and I know I'm going to say this wrong, Taururia Nagatai Melbourne. She is absolutely amazing here. You've got to wonder whether she's going to be a sneaky chance when it comes award season to pick up a few awards, because she is absolutely amazing in this film. But Guy Pearce is the real surprise here. I think quite often, especially here in Australia, we forget what a great actor Guy Pearce is. He had such an amazing Hollywood career in his early days when he was making movies like Memento and LA Confidential. And in recent years, we've seen him in films like The Rover and films like that. But I think we kind of forget what an amazing actor he is. And also, he's one of those actors that will come back to Australia and give to Australia. He's done some great Australian films as well over the years. Of course, was one of the first guys to put his hand up to come back and be in Neighbours, to pick up that role again in Neighbours. So, look, I think we do forget what a great actor Guy Pearce is, and it's when you have a movie like this one, The Convert, that reminds us what a great actor Guy Pearce actually is. I said a few years ago that he's one of those actors that I don't think we're going to realise just how good he is until he's gone. I know he was around in Hollywood at that same time as people like Russell Crowe and Heath Ledger, and they kind of got all the big roles and the accolades, but Guy Pearce definitely deserves to be mentioned among those guys. He's an absolutely amazing actor, and we see that once again here in The Convert. This is a film that's on kind of a limited release, but if you get a chance to go and see it, definitely check out The Convert. I think this is an absolutely amazing film. I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5. I think it is one of the must-see films of this year. If you're an Australian, if you're from New Zealand, you have to go and see this film. It is an absolutely stunning film. Once again, reminds us as well, not only of Guy Pearce's acting and the skills there, but also that what a great director we have in Lee Tamahori as well. I think he gets forgotten about when we mention great directors from this part of the world, but The Convert to me is just an amazing film. 4.5 out of 5. It's dark, it's foreboding, but it tells such an important story that needs to be brought to the screen. It has got a limited release, so make sure you check your local cinema guide to see if it's showing near you, but I'm giving The Convert 4.5 out of 5.